so much for tuning in. I'm Peter Quello, and this is Dan Baker, good friend and awesome realtor here at Keller Williams in the Paulsbo area. And he actually helped my wife and I buy a lot. It was a dream of mine to get a place up here eventually, and he was helping in that process and was integral part of that and helped us get a really good deal. I'm a huge advocate for working with realtors, and this is one big plug for a realtor because when we bought our lot, I was so excited about it. I could have just called the listing agent directly, said, "Hey, can we get a little bit of deal?" But I was working with Dan, and he was super helpful in the process. Helped us negotiate a huge deal. What I thought was a huge deal. Probably saved us $44,000, I think, from the sales price. And then also was super integral in getting the pre-submittal process. You want to talk just a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. And
Yeah.
I'm glad it was a win. And yeah, just the whole part of buying vacant land. I think that's a lot of times you see a piece of property and you've got a vision and a dream and what you want to do with it. And there's a lot of steps behind the scenes that have to happen. And one of the cool things with Peter and his family that we got to do is do the pre-submittal process. So most jurisdictions in the area will allow you to basically have a meeting with all the powers that be, and the whole permitting process. They'll bring all the department heads in, and you can sit with them and basically ask, like, can you even build on this property? What's it going to take as far as sprinkler systems and water and all this kind of stuff? I had the fortunate opportunity to build when I was a little bit younger and got to do that process, and it opened my eyes because we found out we actually couldn't even build the house we were going to build. So
Yeah.
saved me lots of money.
Oh my gosh.
So we got to hit the reset button and do it. So
Yeah.
I got to do that for you, which was super cool.
That was a huge help going through that whole process. So nice to have somebody that had done it before. Just gave us a lot of peace of mind to buying a lot, which we hadn't done before. And we're stoked about it. We're just starting to break ground. So we'll keep you posted on how that process goes. It's definitely intense, but if you have questions on buying a lot, building, let us know. Right now, we're actually at a beautiful listing of Dan's on right here in Keyport, and just an awesome listing. So check this one out. But real quick, wanted to go into the market update for mortgages. Right now, we haven't seen a whole lot of movement. We've got two good inflation reports. The CPI and PPI both came in a little bit tamer than usual, and we usually get a pretty nice improvement, but it's just subdued a little bit, I think, by the tariffs and how those might potentially work themselves out later on. So we're not seeing a whole lot of movement. They're kind of stuck where they're at in the high sixes. Which is okay. It's been stable and kind of what we've seen. So affordability does continue to be a challenge, but we are working through different ways to navigate that. And then as far as the real estate market, what are you seeing out here as far as supply, demand in the Kitsap area?
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned one thing, and you kind of said stability as far as rates go, that I think is really key. And what the good thing with just knowing where rates are at and the fact they've been rather stagnant, if you will,
Yeah.
is just, it's, going back to the fundamentals, it's all about, hey, if you can buy a home at today's rates and you're comfortable and it's a mortgage you can afford, then it's a home you should go pursue and purchase, right? And we've had such a turbulent rate environment that people have bought homes based off of what they thought rates were going to do. There was all this kind of stuff. And right now, we just go back to the basics of, hey, this is the rate today. This is where it's at. It could go up, could go down, but can you afford it today? And that's kind of what we're working with lenders and just making sure that we have that. As far as fundamentals go and Kitsap specifically, we're, as far as average price point and things, we've actually seen a little bit increase year over year as far as price point goes, not very much. We're seeing our closed sales down a little bit. Nothing too significant. I think the biggest thing we're seeing as far as market change is inventory. So just as a reference, back in like the 2020s, the COVID era, we had like 0.8 months of supply. So basically take, if for all the homes are available, it take 0.8 months for basically all the homes to be bought up in Kitsap. What's funny is you could look at like any of the main platforms to look at homes or whatever, and you could like see all the listings available. And there was just a couple sprinkled throughout the county. Right now you open it up and there's hundreds and hundreds. There's little spots everywhere showing all the homes that are available to buy. Completely different screen if you're looking at it on your phone compared to where it was.
Yeah.
And so that's just a quick way to see like how much of a change there is. So what does that mean as a buyer or a seller? It just means that really we're starting to see the shift more into a more buyer-friendly market. So good for sellers to know as far as expectations and pricing and things like that. And as a buyer, we're seeing it. I see it a lot right now where we're able to get a few more things in our contracts, whether it's buy downs, whether it's incentives or concessions from the seller. price adjustments, things like that, asking for more things on an inspection. So there's a little bit more leverage as a buyer, which I think is a really healthy thing.
For sure.
Things are
Yeah.
moving slower, but I think overall it's actually healthy.
I think so too. We've seen more and more balance shifting to the buyer's market, which we haven't seen since 2013, really. So it's nice to see some just kind of balance in the market, some advantages for buyers where they've had to make quick decisions by way over asking. And so seeing that balance out is very positive signs, I think. What do you think? I thought it was interesting that the sales are down year to date and listings are up. What would you attribute that to? Because rates have kind of stayed fairly stable and more choices. You'd think there's buyers on the sidelines, but you think it's just fear of what's going on with tariffs in the news, or what would you say? And it's not a huge amount of sales down too, so it's hard to read too much into it, but what would be your thoughts on that?
Totally. And I kind of mentioned that we were talking about rate stability and things, and there's a lot of sellers specifically that were really on the fence on whether they're going to list over the last couple of years, because they had this thought potentially, because we've watched this bull market run for the last 15 years of homes, right? Everything's gone up and to the right as far as prices, as far as basically just speed of transaction, all that kind of stuff. And so we kind of had this expectation, maybe that's what things are going to look like. But we've seen a little bit of a shift. And so a lot of sellers that were sitting on the sidelines waiting for that right opportunity to sell, they're kind of the point now where like, oh shoot, we have to sell. People have babies, people get job changes, there's issues with marriages and all the things, and death, divorce, all the things that happen just that is a part of life that creates a need to sell. And so we're seeing some of these sellers come to the surface, or people that maybe needed to do a move up buy and they were waiting for rates to change. And now they're just kind of realizing, shoot, maybe that's not going to happen, but they're still able to make their move. And so we're seeing a lot more sellers hit the market. On a buyer side of things, buyers have slowed down. They're a little more cautious. They're having to put a little more thought. I know for us specifically, we're doing a little bit more vetting up front with buyers, and I think it's educational, where we just make them get pre-approved. We make them go jump through a few hoops so that they're vetting themselves and their own ability to actually make a purchase before we even go look at homes. Because what I hate to see is we go out and we find the one, and then we get things going, and that cart is way in front of the horse. And then it's almost this letdown. There's like this moment, and they start kind of realizing that like, oh shoot, we're not as prepared as we thought we were, as opposed to reverse engineering it and getting everything lined out. So by the time we go look, they know exactly what the parameters are. Their lender is on the same page with them. Everything's just out there, so they can make a decision about a home based off of their specific scenario, what they can afford, all that kind of stuff. And they're able to make decisions. They're able to make them faster. And we don't always see that along the market, but you're definitely seeing a little bit of hesitation on the buyer end of things, just because there is a little bit of a shift, right, from what maybe they heard their neighbors did or their friends did when they bought their house a couple of years ago. And so I think education and just doing a lot of stuff up front before we even go look is really helping people gain some clarity as far as them buying a house.
Yeah, so important. Education, knowing exactly what you can afford, just gives you power to make the right decision.
Totally. Yeah.
So I like it. As far as upcoming events, have you ever been to the Bridge Blast?
Yes.
I think we're going to come back up for the Bridge Blast, and I've heard it's the biggest bridge show west of the Mississippi or something like that.
It's insane.
That'd be really fun.
Insane.
So are you going to do it this?
I will be there. We've been there the last handful of years. There's a lot of people who will go by boat. So if you've got a boat or a friend with a boat, it's an awesome opportunity to launch and actually go sit almost under the bridge. There's one point in the show that's kind of cool where they'll actually do like a rain down of fireworks.
Oh, wow.
And they used to do it like an airplane show beforehand. I don't think they're doing that this year, but it is a wild thing to watch. It is a huge fireworks show. So
check that out if you guys can do that.
Totally. Yep.
And Father's Day coming up. Do you have any big Father's Day plan?
I bought some Mariners tickets months ago for Father's Day.
Nice.
So we're going to do that.
Do they do a Father's Day kind of deal?
We bought it actually through our Little League program. So there'll be a bunch of kids there and stuff too. But they do a Father's Day. There's some sort of father. I think they're giving away socks. So, every dad needs a new pair of socks, right, for Father's Day. So there is a sock giveaway for that. But, at the time, Mariners were just kicking butt. We've been a little bit stagnant here over the last handful of series they've been a part of. But nonetheless, it's just fun to go as a family and go check out the Mariners.
Cool.
How about you?
Well, we'll do a little brunch at my parents' house down in Portland area. So should be fun. But happy Father's Day, fathers. That's a huge role. I mean, Dan's an awesome father. It's fun to see you with your kids. And I know that's a super important role. So happy Father's Day, fathers. And also, I like to do a song a month. Do you have? I'm just kind of putting you on the spot. Do you have any songs right now that you're like?
Any songs?
This is one that I'm liking right now is "Why Love" by John Bellion and Luke Combs.
Okay,
Good,
love Luke Combs.
Good collab.
Oh yeah, Yeah, we've gone through like these different genres with raising kids, right? Like Luke Combs was my go-to, been for a long time, and there's a lot of songs about he writes a lot of songs about, his son and kids and stuff like that. So my kids will actually ask for some of those songs
Oh, cool.
sometimes. But we're in this series or this kind of stage of life right now where my daughters have kind of taken control of all DJ duties and driving and stuff. So we got a lot of pop and a lot of stuff I would never listen to that's running the radio. So could I name a song? Not a chance, because it's so far out of my realm. But yeah, no, it's definitely summer season. It's time to kick on the tunes and go boating and all that fun stuff. And love this time of year.
Yeah, me too. I just saw like cherries out there on the side of the road. I love the fresh fruit. It's a fun time of year for sure in the Northwest.
Yep.
So get out there, enjoy. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys have any real estate questions at all, don't hesitate to reach us at our information is below, and we would love to help with any real estate needs you might have. So thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what happens with this listing. It's a gorgeous one. Thanks for letting us shoot from here.
It's a great venue for it.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Let's go paddleboarding.
Let's do it.
Cool. Well, thank you guys very much. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, everybody.